Hello everyone, welcome back to the table. Today what I wanted to do was go over some of the Sarissa precision buildings that came in the Civil War Epic set from Warlord Games. This is all 15mm scale, and some of this I got with the Deluxe starter package that I purchased. So you would have to check the availability. I know these should be all purchasable separately. However, I'm not quite sure which ones come, with a starter set. And I don't know if you can buy the pre-order starter set anymore. So you might have to look around for some of these buildings if you want them. Now, this first one here, I think this comes with the current starter, but again, I'm not too sure. This is kind of like the basic building. It shows two buildings here, but this is one building just showing another angle and some fencing. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was, one, the instructions for these are really good. I like the artwork. I think they're really nice. And for me, the pictures and the visuals for assembly worked out just fine. I thought this was really, really good. And the other thing too, I really hadn't planned to do a video like this, but I'm trying to kind of put things away into storage a little bit so I have table space to go to painting and other things. So it's like, well, why don't I go ahead and show folks what these look like. So I didn't keep any of the wood sprues that they came in. So I'm just going to show you the assembled houses. But I want you to know that, for one, nothing is numbered on the sprue. So for example, here in the picture it's showing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is kind of like the order that you would attach to things. And obviously you're going to have to use some judgment as far as tacking. And what I mean by that is like maybe little drops of glue here and there to kind of hold things together temporarily while you fit in other pieces, because not all of these kind of snap together very well. So I've never really built wooden houses like this before. So I will say ultimately the experience was really good. It just took me a while to kind of get used to dry fitting, putting a little bit of glue to hold things in place while I put in other pieces. Otherwise, they're fantastic. I was super impressed by the precision in which it's cut. The instructions, clear. So even though you kind of have to line up the pieces with the drawing, but it wasn't really hard to figure out what pieces, I needed when, and they all fit together really, really good. The laser cutting on this stuff is fantastic. So this particular house, you do have a few steps, but basically there's like a side house that you assemble. I guess maybe it's a washroom or something like that. It attaches to the side of the main house. You assemble the roof. The chimney comes in several pieces. There's another chimney that comes in several pieces, but it all fits together really nice. So here's what it will look like after you paint yours. I don't know when I'll paint mine. This, to make them look good, probably is a little bit above my skill level right now. So I just have it assembled. And that's what it looks like assembled. And trying to match it up. Now I didn't glue the roofs on. That was intentional. I figured, maybe at some point I may have desire to stick figures in. So I didn't glue it. You probably could, when it's assembled like this, glue this little side roof on. That way you can just take the whole thing off in one piece. That probably would not be too shabby. But for some reason I just had this urge that I should keep the little roof separate as well. But, clearly when you assemble yours, do as you want. Now, what I thought was really cool is, some of these windows, they're cut out, and this is like the outer wall, if you will, and the windows are cut. And then what they do is they have these inserts on some of the houses. There's an insert is blank on one side, but the other side has laser etched window frames, and you can see there's like laser etched paneling, and then doors, and then some of that had an inset piece, so that way you can have a laser etched doors and windows. And the only reason why I'm afraid to paint that is I don't want to lose that detail. I'm just afraid if I paint, I'll cover up all the laser etching and lose the panel lines. So I don't know. That'll take some time for me to decide. But this is just a basic house, and this was one of the houses that comes, or that you can purchase. So that was number one. Love it. I thought once I assembled that, I said, yeah, I'm going to assemble all of these. So we'll set that one aside. So that is just a North American farmhouse and fence set. Oh, so here's the fence set. So the fence comes like this. This is, I guess, like a snake fence. And I honestly didn't know how many I should assemble at a time. I didn't want to make like one long fence, but I wanted sections so a person could, you know, set them out how they want. So I just stuck 5 together. Maybe I could do 3. That way people can, you know, really lay these out as they want. I probably could bust where I glued it there, and, you know, if I really wanted to stick with 3. But anyway, they go to, I mean, they just pop them out. And I don't know if you can see here, but I mean, the laser cutting precision is fantastic on that, and they just pop right out. And that's one thing I'll say about all the pieces. The little connection point where it connects the piece of wood to the sprue is very fine. I didn't use sandpaper on this. What I did was I just took my X-Acto knife and trimmed down the little nubs that attached the wood pieces to the sprue. And it's wood. I figured wood should not look perfect, so I went ahead and just scraped it off in parts. They still turned out really nice, and even on the building walls and sections that you put together for yourself, the where I scraped is a lot of those little nubs are hidden, or you can't see it, and once you paint it, it's gone. But I figured, if wood's got some imperfection on it, I'm not going to be too upset. So you also get a snake fence, real easy to put together. I just haven't decided if I'm just going to do sections of 3, sections of 5, but yeah, real simple. So there's that. So you got a house, and that's what the fence looks like. Now the deluxe kit came with Gettysburg buildings, specifically buildings for Gettysburg. And this together, both of these took the longest to assemble. Ooh, because you might ask, well, how long does it take to assemble? I watched Netflix and YouTube while I'm assembling, so I get distracted very easily. I would say maybe an hour and a half on this house. The pieces popped out. Really, I think the most difficult thing was waiting on glue to dry. Now, if you've not assembled anything like this before, and you might be wondering, you know, what kind of glue to use, I'm not an expert on glues. So there very well could be a better glue to use for these, but I was using some Gorilla Glue that I bought a while ago, and it worked fine, but there might be better glue options out there for MDF. But I figured this worked out pretty good. And one other thing too, I'll just point out, is the wood seems pretty thick too. These are not flimsy at all. All the pieces are very sturdy. It fits together really, really well. I didn't have any fitting issues whatsoever, kind of once I got down to how to put it together. Like I said, every once in a while I would just tack a couple points to hold stuff together with a little bit of that super glue, and we did fine. So now you've got this arch and you have the seminary. Now, this seminary, again, I didn't glue some of the parts on here just because when I want to maybe store it away, I didn't want to have any trouble, you know, getting the attachments inside things on, or, you know, have that be in the way of storing. But let's just bring the camera down. So for instance here, this is, I believe this is like out the back, and the stairs, I was even impressed with the stairs. This actually came as a bunch of individual planks, and then on the stair casing on the inside here, there's a piece of wood with a whole bunch of divots, and across from it is its twin, and all the pieces of wood just slid right in, just one after the other. Oh, I probably could have stuck one more piece of planking on the bottom there. I think I missed one of the stairs I need to add now that I see this. But I mean, look at that. The banisters, the railing. For being nothing but flat square pieces of wood, they did a really good job of simulating curves. So this is just great. And on the seminary itself here, let me take the little cupola off. There's little notches here where things line up, and it just pops right in. I say that and then I can't get it to pop in. But everything fits in real good when you're not trying to do it on camera off to the side. And then it just, you know, obviously it falls out. That's why I'm like, I might ultimately have to glue it in place, but I was just leaving it off for now for storage purposes. But let's see, I know if I tilt this too much, the roofs are going to fall off. And again, I didn't glue the roof pieces together. I probably will. I don't really see the need to leave just one, or leave them all detachable. But after I assembled it, yeah, everything fits together pretty precisely. And oh, you can't even see that. Here I am trying to show you here. So it comes, the roof is 3 sections. So you get the middle part, and the reason I didn't glue this down is because I was just like, well, if I didn't assemble this all very straight, then once I try to fit all the roof pieces together, so I think what I'll do, I thought to myself, well, what I'll do is I'll just leave them all loose. That way, no matter how I set it up on a table or whatever, I don't ever have to worry about these being misaligned because I can always get them in spot. But I guess if they're like, that looks pretty good, I still might go ahead and run a bead of glue down. That way the roof comes off in one section. But anyway, for now, it's got chimneys. And again, the roof sections come off. And I like having the roof come off because that way if I need to really store some infantry in there, I guess I could say, yeah, they've taken over this seminary, and then the epic scale stuff fits in there just fine. So I was like, well, maybe we'll do that. But I took the roof off so I could tilt this, and there it is. This is the seminary. This did take, I built the archway and the seminary in the same session, so that was probably 2.5 to 3 hours. Again, I get distracted very easily, so I'm watching television and whatnot. But once you paint it up, it's going to cover up any glue that dripped through. But again, it went together so good. I think the longest part was just waiting for glue to dry so I could move things around. But again, you can see here, all the windows are punched out. They're all punched out. And there's some little laser etching on there for decoration and detail. And then inside is a whole other piece of wood that fits in. It's got all the etching for the windows. And that's on the sides too. Yeah, so look at that. Your windows, everything is great. It's even got down here a door, and it's got like a little step in. And then this was the front stairs. Once again, a lot of detail on the banister. And I see on this one here, I also left off the bottom step. Oops, that's okay. But yeah, I love it. Stairs, banisters, all this little stuff there. And this one fits in really good too. But once you get them in, and if you want to glue it in place so it doesn't fall off all the time, it just fits to the model so nicely. So that was the seminary. The only drawback, and I was kind of talking to my buddy about it, is I think this seminary set, the Gettysburg set, that came with the deluxe starter. You can purchase your Gettysburg pieces separately. However, you know, that's going to be a purchase up to you because unless you're doing Gettysburg all the time, there might not be a whole lot of need for the seminary. I'm not sure you know, I'm sure there might be other battles this could substitute for something. But when I watched the movie Gettysburg, I said to myself, wow, my seminary kind of looks like the seminary in the movie. So anybody who actually has a strong Civil War familiarity would probably have a hard time using that seminary in another battle and be like, yeah, no, that doesn't fit. But even here is a top, I don't know what do you call that, what do they call that? Cupola? I don't know, that doesn't sound right. Cupola. They called that the, let's find it here, tower, bell tower. I don't even know if that's a bell tower. Glue the center pin, let's see, rails, dome. Okay, it's a dome. Oh, glue the dome disc panels. Align the tower. Alright, it's just a tower. Easy peasy. So it's even got a little tower that sits on top. So awesome. So your cavalry commanders can stand up in the tower and watch the battle in Gettysburg or wherever they're fighting. So this instruction booklet had the arch. I'll show you the arch in a second. So you assembled the arch first. But again, I mean, the instructions are great. Even though the pieces aren't labeled on the sprue, I had no problems popping out the ones I needed. This one, though, some of them were specifically labeled left and right, because even though there's two towers, the two towers did have to be built in a specific way in order for it to fit together properly. And the notes call that out as you go along. So as you're building this arch, it did let you know, hey, make sure you don't muck up some of the assembly parts here. Let's see, is that for the tower or the archway, or was that all the seminary? Here's the arch. I think I got my instructions in here kind of messed up because I was trying to flip things around a little bit. So some of this is for, maybe it was like this. Started to build, well, I had taken these apart so I could build this thing, so I probably got these backwards, but anyway. Yeah, even here on the tower, there was a couple pieces that were long, a little bit taller than other pieces. So again, if you pay attention to the notes, you can put everything together pretty good. Anyway, that's enough looking at the seminary in that one. But here's the arch. I thought that looked great. To me, the detail on this arch thing, I think is really cool. And being a non-Civil War gamer with a non-Civil War knowing background, I still have yet to look up and find out what this represented. So if anybody wants to leave a wiki link for me or something like that, that'd be great. But again, the detail in here I think is fantastic. So on like these panels, for example, the window is etched in and then they had a separate part to glue on. This gives it a little bit of 3D effect. And then it had all of these individual nubs that got to get put in. I would say the only thing to be careful of is the front relief work here on these front windows. These windows are all, again, laser etched in. And then if I could show you here, this window paneling was on one piece where you had to punch out all of the inner window parts. I mean, again, I'm so impressed by the precision laser cutting that they did here. I didn't break a thing. It was all sturdy enough that I was able to punch out all the pieces that were kind of stuck in there a little bit, but none of this broke. The only problems I had with this was this section right here. There's no real guide. You kind of have to eyeball set it up to make sure it lines up with everything. So this little piece right here, it has this little circular engraving and this upper and bottom bar section. And the problem is, for me at least, because there was no guide, I really tried to estimate and make sure everything was flat with the pieces behind it, but my glue dried too fast. Normally my glue is taking forever to dry, but I guess I put not enough glue. So like as soon as I put it down, it was like, and it was done. And I was like, oh man. And what happened is, since that doesn't lay flat here across the top, I know it's probably hard to see what I'm talking about, but the top of this bar doesn't sit flush with some of the wood pieces behind. Now what that caused is when this middle section attached here to the sides, it caused this to not fit perfectly, so it's actually raised a little bit. So I think with maybe a little putty or something, you could fill in that little tiny gap there. And this side, I had to trim down a little bit because I had the opposite problem. Since it was tilted, I had to trim so it all fit together. But that was not a problem with the model. That was more of my skills and my quick drying glue at the moment. But had this had a pin or some kind of guide, even with my quick setting glue, I would have had it in the proper place and everything would have been fine. So that for me is like, if I could pass along one tip for you, just be very careful when putting on this front piece so that it lines up properly with the back areas. Well, I just heard my cat crying over something. I think maybe my cat wants out. Well, let me pause right here and we'll let the cat out. Cat is out. Even inside here, there's still laser etching. That camera's too wiggly. Laser etching in the doors that you can see. There's stairs that come up. This was really fun to put together. Just a couple sore points to be aware of, and you'll be able to assemble yours better than me. But again, I think it's a great looking model. So we'll set that off to the side with the other Gettysburg building. And there's the Gettysburg scenery pack. Perfect. So we'll set that aside. You saw the instructions. And this was the other pack that came in. So this tells me here 2 houses and one Dutch style barn. I would say maybe it's 2 barns. I'm not sure, but I'll show you here in a second, and maybe you can tell me it's 2 barns and not 2 houses. So I'd be very just careful of this particular pack if you're looking for more houses than barns. I think this is 2 barns and only 1 house, but I'll show you that in a moment. So this did come with 3 buildings, and again, they went together pretty good. The only one that I struggled with, and I don't know why, I wish I could pinpoint exactly where I struggled, was the one house that I could definitely tell was a house, and it was this one. And I don't know why this was a pain to put together. It's precision cut just like everything else, but for whatever reason, it just did not go together quite as nicely as the other models. And yeah, like I said, I wish I could point to a specific thing and say, here's the problem that I had. It just didn't want to go together as well as the other ones. So I wish I could maybe pinpoint that for you, give you some advice to work over it, but I'm not sure what happened. But once it's done and put together, it's pretty good. Now for this one, I did glue the roof to the top of the house, only because there's a floor in here, right about here, and then the roof part has a middle beam that kind of comes down for support, and because there's such a slope here, there is like very little free room up here for you to put things. I suppose you could, but I think by the time I got done building this, I just said to myself, I'm just going to glue the roof on and we'll call it good. You probably, when you build yours, you might leave the roof off as well, again, so you can, put something inside potentially. But I think at the time it was just such little attic space that I was like, nah, I'm not going to worry about it. Overall, it looks nice. It's a good looking house. Probably looks like somebody's duplex, because you got the way it's almost duplicated. Just put one family lives on one side, one family lives on the other side, but I think this is all one house. But again, it's really nice looking model kit when it's done. It just did not want to assemble for me, but it's done now. And even in the picture, there's a little bit of gap here on the roof where the chimneys are. So I was looking at the picture, and the picture does show that little space right there too between where the roof goes and the chimney is. So I'm not sure if that's a design feature of the house and that's supposed to be that way, but there it is on mine. So I don't know if this is the Dutch style house that the instructions are talking about. Now, what I call barns, the two barns, those assembled great. I was happy to put those together. They went together great. So here's one of the barns, and I don't know if this is the Dutch style. I'm not sure which of these is the Dutch style barn, but here I did leave the roofs to come off because there's ample space in here to hide things. This roof fits on pretty snug, so I didn't glue it, but it comes off. And again, if you were to, it says it's like a tool shed, so I suppose if you had, I don't know if you'd want to put some livestock in there to decorate the inside or what you'd want to put in there, but there is some spots there to put some things. And again, you got really nice panels on here, and it just pops on, and this one just happens to stay in place pretty good. Really good detail work. I love it. I just love them. The only thing that I messed up, this was a me thing, I didn't really plan this through, but this paneling here on the outside with the tool shed, I accidentally glued these panels on the wrong side, so the panel work was on the inside where you would never see it. So I quickly pulled them off before the glue totally settled and got them right. So now all the paneling is on the outside. So when you're getting this, don't do an eddy. Make sure all the panel line is on the outside and not on the inside. And then this door here is this door right here. So this pops out and you got plenty of room to throw stuff down. That's why I said I think this one's a barn, because why else would you need a huge hole? Plus, this looks like maybe doors for stables as well. So this is why I was thinking this one's a barn, because I think maybe hay goes up there and then they can drop hay down below to animals and things like that. And then like the door here to lift hay up in there. But again, I'm not a farmer. Now what I like here too is the roof is actually kind of purpose built too. Here's the roof paneling. One of these sections is shorter than the other one. So when you put the roof on, the short side goes here, and again the fit is super snug. Yeah, again, it went together really good. I had no problems putting this one together. Once I got past that house, everything else went together. So I'm kind of glad I built that house first, because the rest of these were not frustrating at all. And then here's the other. I'm pretty sure this is a barn as well. Pretty sure, because you got like the big double doors. I don't know many houses that have the big double doors that you see on a barn. And then I left so the roof can pop off. And as you see, the framework inside for the roof is pretty simple. They're almost all like this. They've got a center spine, you got the two ribs there, and then you got the panels with the etchwork for roof tiling. And then even inside here, this one didn't have it. It's just flat MDF. There's no etching, so I didn't mess that one up. But this one here has got panel lines here, which I think is nice. Almost like they want you to take the roof off so you can see inside. And then it also has where the doors and windows were cut out, and you just stick that extra panel that has the paneling for the windows there. More doors, etched really nice, and then the roof just pops right on, and there you have it. So this was the simplest out of that set. So again, even though it says you get 2 houses and 1 Dutch style barn, I think you actually get 2 barns, and maybe it's a Dutch style house. Like I said, I can't go off of this very well. Otherwise, fantastic build. Well, that is all of the Sarissa precision buildings that I got with the Epic Scale starter kit there, deluxe kit. And I just want to say that I've never built anything like this before. I've built a lot of plastic models and plastic tanks, so I brought that experience over. But dealing with the wood and these laser cut wood pieces, have never done. And I think they went together well, and I think they look good. I just need paint them now. Well, I mentioned that only because if you weren't sure if you wanted to get these, I would have no problem recommending. If someone were to ask me, hey, would you get some of these Sarissa Precision models? I'd be like, yeah, they're great. And that's about all I got to say. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave that below. And I think the next few days you're going to see a lot of Civil War stuff because I'm just now getting around to kind of assembling and painting things. That's why I haven't posted any other videos lately. I've been trying to get a feel for how I'm going to approach this project because it's a pretty big box. For me, it's a lot of stuff to paint. And if you've watched my channel, I don't paint a lot, but I really wanted to give this one an effort. So anyway, look for more. Thanks for watching.